Hey, here's Ziza, and this is Rive Decoded. As you can see, you're in my living room. I can see myself there. There's kind of a podcast vibe to this, but I'm here to talk about Rive in a more conceptual way. I don't want this to be a series of tutorials, I want this to be more of a conversation. For those who don't know me, I'm Isa Gantus, I'm a creative technologist and a motion designer, and I've been using Rive since the beginning, like 2022, 2023. Today I work at the product team at chess.com, but I have a lot of connections with other companies and other professionals that deal with Rive, and I'm pretty aware of how Rive is used today in real pipelines and real companies. So I want to bring this to the community. And the first question I think anyone that is working with Rive should ask is, what is Rive? It sounds simple, but a lot of people have a confusion around this. They compare Rive to After Effects or to Figma, and that will give you trouble because Rive is a completely different tool than what we motion designers are used to. Rive is not an animation tool in my opinion, like it has animation features, but I would say Rive is an authoring and executing tool. It's much more similar to a game engine in my perspective than to After Effects. The reason why I say this is because Rive has two sides. It has the editor side and the runtime side. In other linear animation tools, your outcome is basically a video. It's something that you control entirely from the editor. In Rive, your outcome is not a video. I mean, it can be, but generally your outcome is a RIV file. That is a binary file. Binary files are basically instructions for a machine. And for your machine to read it, it has to have the correct vocabulary, let's say. That vocabulary is given by the runtime. And I know that that can sound very complex for someone that doesn't have a technical background, but don't worry, like you don't need to know everything that there is to know about runtime. You don't need to know how to code. All you need is to grasp this concept, because that's also what makes the tool so powerful. Like you can make your animations or your screens react to live data or react to user input in real time. That's completely magical, like it's amazing. And I also think that once you switch that mindset, it also kind of hints at the fact that you are the owner of that. What I mean by this is that you need to be involved in the implementation as well. Because the way you create your set of instructions, that influences how things will look like to your user. The developer is not alone in this. And neither is you, like as a Rive developer, Rive animator, creative technologist. I don't know, there's not a name for this yet. Working with Rive in a real company, in a real pipeline, I think it's very important that you as a professional is able to think about implementation ahead of time. That's part of doing things in Rive. It's not two separate things in my opinion. It's one thing that's an advantage in the age we are. I think that it's very important for professionals that want to be ahead of the game to be able to own more. But yeah, that's my jam as well, so it's very easy for me to say that. It's not a rule, you do you. To wrap this up very quickly, I will show you the editor and I will show you the runtime, so this is not that abstract. Okay, so I'm gonna implement this animation. It was made by JC. JC, you're the best. Sorry, I cannot hold myself to that joke. JC is actually the best. I just don't have that intimacy with him. Okay, I switched to my webcam. I used the docs to implement, and you can see it's working here. And you can also see that I'm logging the different properties of this button. And let's take a look at the editor to understand that. This is where we are authoring things, right? So we created this data to be exposed to code. That's why we can check it out here on our browser. We can actually change things in our animation by using the code. I'm gonna change the text by removing this comment. So now it says something else. Literally, like that's what I wrote here. And that's happening because I added a line here reaching out for the property of button a string called button text. This is exactly what we have here, button text. And it is quite powerful that you can do this. Another thing you can do is send messages, send information from the animation to the code. And this is what I'm doing here. I'm listening to a trigger. You can see here on the editor that when I finish holding this, it triggers the button finished. You can do the same here. You can listen to that. So if I hold it, it says button finished. But okay, that doesn't quite show you why you would need to know this. I think it's interesting to know it. I think it's useful to know that this is how it happens on the other side of things when you implement. But what's important is that you understand that what you're doing here is not what your user will see in the end. Your user will see this. It will see the result of the code reading that information and rendering it to the user. One thing that we can do here to make this very explicit is we can change this to canvas. I'm using another type of runtime that Rive makes available, and it already looks different, but you can see here that is clearly broken. It's not looking like what we created, and it's not looking like we created because we tweaked something on the runtime side. So it's very easy for this to happen, like something breaks or something is not working correctly because it's not being interpreted in the way you planned, right? Here in this case, it's a problem with the vector feathering, that is the blur that Rive makes available for the editor. And as you can see, the web canvas version of the runtime doesn't support vector feathering. That is something very important to know upfront. Like before you start working on the animation, you need to know what are the tools you can use to create that animation. And that's part of understanding the runtime, So yeah, that's it. I hope it was helpful. I hope you had a good time with me today. And I want to continue doing this. I'm having a lot of fun recording, to be honest. I think it's a really interesting conversation to start to think about why Rive is this way. I think it's very important for us to know our roles in it as well. Both designers and developers, and this weird person that works in Rive doing both at the same time. So yeah, see you in the next episode that is gonna be about state machines. It's a concept that I see a lot of people complaining about. It's something that is very present in the gaming industry, and I want to tackle a little bit and talk a little bit about the state machine role in Rive. So see you on the next episode, I hope.